Greetings from NAFSA 2025. My name is Marty Bennett, president of SMIE Consulting, coming to you live from the Expo floor at NAFSA annual conference in the Expo Hall. This is one of the widest Expo halls, not the very deepest, but one of the widest Expo halls that you'll find in the US, where the NAFSA conference has been held regularly over the last 20, 30 years. But this is let's see, it's almost 30 years since my first NAFSA in 1996. And this is the second time I've been in San Diego for the NAFSA conference. Last time was in 2014, right after I just left Education USA, which you see behind me, the pavilion that has certainly grown considerably in the last 10 years, since 10, 11 years since I left. So good to see them partnering with Fulbright, as they always have done, and USA, a study destination. So a great conference, as always, in terms of reconnecting with colleagues from around the world that you only see once a year, maybe once every 2 years, depending on their budgets. And what we're going to do today is, like we do each year at NAFSA, really enjoy the time to walk around and potentially meet some colleagues and see what's happening in their part of the world. One of the things that I do like to do is as we're walking, is just to get a sense of the mood on campus or at the conference, because we're certainly dealing with some unprecedented times in our field. And this conference this year has brought together over 8,000 individuals from 100 countries here at NAFSA this year. And each year we're seeing more and more. In fact, the percentage of attendees that are coming from overseas is actually up to 45% this year. So I noticed in the opening plenary yesterday, they do just kind of break down on who's in the audience, where they're from, that type of thing. And there were students from not students, but attendees from 100 countries. 45% were from overseas. And when they asked attendees to stand up if they're first timers, it felt like over half the room. I don't know the exact number, but over half the room felt like they were from attending their first NAFSA conference. So quite a considerable number. And that may be a lot of the overseas folks that are coming for the first time are first timers. So we'll see when the official numbers come out post event, once all the dust is settled. But this conference has become, this year, you definitely feel the energy is down. And certainly being in the United States, we had the announcement right before the opening plenary yesterday that the State Department put out a cable to missions and embassies and consulates globally that new capacity for student interviews should be put on hold because the government, so the State Department, is implementing new extreme social media vetting and of applicants for visas. And this isn't new, frankly, and this is where the voice of reason seems to get lost in the shuffle. And it's certainly something, as I talk to colleagues who are in the field that get very upset and have been feeling under threat for many years when dealing with issues of Donald Trump and policies that he passes, and kind of seems to thrive off creating chaos. And I certainly see that. And half of the attendees here, American attendees here, are probably conditioned to just anything that comes out of the government's mouth, State Department, Homeland Security, the White House, they just go into a fit of rage, get angry. And then there are those that are getting just depressed with everything that's happening, when it seems like every day, sometimes multiple things a day, keep us and our heads spinning with what the knock-on effect is going to be for our industry. So we are there. It's hard not to feel under threat as an international educator in the United States now, when you see policies changing that adversely affect our ability to enroll international students, to keep the ones that we have here, to be able to share opportunities with them in terms of what the reality will be when current student statuses are getting terminated for no reason because they might have had a speeding ticket for and the damage that has done to our reputation. And last week's uh, one day Harvard losing its ability to enroll international students to the next day a federal judge in Massachusetts basically putting a restraining order on the government, on the federal government from making that decision and delisting Harvard's ability to enroll international students. So you see, and this is a long laundry list. There's threats to OPT. There are challenges overseas with embassies and potential travel bans still looming. So there's always something that has been almost one or two, at least one thing a week since inauguration day that has kept our profession in the United States, international education, and our colleagues around the world, our partner universities, our service providers, our agent partners that we rely on to bring us students and to interact with our students, to host our students when they go abroad. Our profession has really been under threat. And when we look at what is happening with the government and what I've called the chaos theory of governance in terms of trying to upset as many people as possible and throw everything into chaos. You see what happens is people start to lose confidence in whether the system is set up to allow us to succeed. And most folks here, the energy levels are down. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There are people here that American colleagues who are just fed up. There are colleagues who are just in a constant state of anger with what's happening. And I understand it. I totally get it because of what is being done to our profession and most importantly to our students and our livelihood, in effect, is being called into question, is being directly affected by government policy in the name of national security for the most part. The reality is we don't have the answers. We don't know what direction this administration is going to go when push comes to shove. We don't want to, well, there are some among us who want to push and fight and do everything they can to resist um, and poke the bear, basically. And sometimes that's not a good thing. And there are colleagues I know who are not here who are upset that NAFSA hasn't taken as vocal a stance given what came out yesterday or what's happened with Harvard. But they have, and sometimes the best thing is not to say anything. And some people don't have a filter, and anything that comes out of their mouth is what they're feeling at that very second, and that's not always the wisest thing to do. I've learned that lesson the hard way over the years. But one thing I've certainly found here is that NAFSA, the leadership of NAFSA, particularly under Fanta, I told her this yesterday, that she's been an absolute godsend for our organization as our CEO and executive director, because she's been there. She is a former international student. She's lived in the and worked in the United States for over 3 decades now almost. So she gets it. She is also one of the kindest, sweetest person you'll ever meet, but she has a fire in her and she knows she's experiencing it. She's right on the front lines with NAFSA and being in DC, understanding what's happening. And sh- yesterday, when the announcement came down about the visa appointments, no additional new capacity should be added to visa appointments in countries around the globe because the government is implementing, or State Department's implementing this new social media vetting. See, they purposefully did not. Uh, they found it out. I think the news of that dropped 10 minutes before the opening ceremony yesterday, so they didn't really have all the details and trying to make an analysis and an informed decision on what to say in the moment. It's not probably not the wisest thing. We're in the middle of their annual conference, so They got a message out late yesterday that kind of addressed it a little bit. So the challenge is when you represent an international ed organization with 10,000 plus members, that is the largest organization for our field, and in the middle of their annual conference, you can't have knee-jerk reactions to government statements and policies. You can have certainly all the feelings you want inside and keep that to yourself and think of the worst thoughts that you might think about what their motivations are. But keep in mind, with the social media extreme vetting that's now going to be implemented, this has actually already been part of the process since the first Trump administration, since 2017, when social media questions were added to the DS-160 form. So the real question we should be asking ourselves as institutions in the United States is, what are we doing to help prepare students who once they get their I-20s and are about to fill out that DS-160 after they pay their CBIS fee? What are we advising them to do? Are we advising them to just don't worry about your social media profiles? Do any of us even do that? Do we even mention, hey, watch out what you say about your social media profile? What's on your social media profiles? We do not live in a vacuum. We live in a world where our administration, from almost the first day in office, decided that they are going to look at, uh, for current students, look at social media posts and whether they had any pro-Hamas rhetoric or pro-Hamas sentiments expressed in their posts on social media. And that got several folks into trouble. Do you think we might want to tell our future students that this is an issue? I mean, this isn't, again, it's not a new policy. The Department of State has had it as part of their policy since 2017 to ask those questions on on the DS-160, what people's social media handles are. And already been capacity to review how we don't know how much it's been done or what levels of detail have been looked at, but this is not new. And what administration likes to do is they like attaching extreme to everything that they do because that satisfies their base. That, oh, they're really being thorough about checking everybody, but they've already been doing that for 7, 8 years. So we need to take a beat on a lot of this, breathe, and really think about, hey, what's the reality? What's the actual motivation here? And it is political, but ask yourself as an institution, since 2017, when this new policy was introduced to ask for social media handle information, have we as institutions been saying anything to prospective students about what they should or should be checking their social media profiles before they go for their visa interviews? Is that being communicated in any way? Because it's not just DHS, or it's not just the Department of State, it's also DHS that we know, and it's been happening for at least 10 years. We know that students get put into secondary when they come through, and they can have their social media accounts checked on their phones, on their laptops, on their iPads and tablets. That's been happening too. This is not new. DHS, State Department have, for the last 7, 8 years, been able to do this, to use things that students say on social media to deny them entry to the country if you're a CBP officer, and to deny them an initial visa or a visa renewal based on things that they've said on their social media accounts. This is not new. So to treat it as something that doesn't exist is irresponsible in a lot of ways. That it is a reality that a lot of students, prospective students going for visas, for us as international educators, sometimes when we come back in the country, we go into secondary, and then our tablets and PCs and phones are unlocked and reviewed for content that is anti-American or suspicious. So should we also do the same for our future students that we're hoping to enroll? Should we be telling them that, hey, you really got to watch what you say? Because if you have anti-American rhetoric on your social media channels, you're probably not going to get your visa. And if you're lucky enough to get your visa and they don't find it when you're applying for the visa the first time, if you if you say something in between the time you get your visa and the time you come and enter the country, our Customs and Border Patrol could ding you and deny you entry after all that work. And in terms of what's going on the conference as a whole, obviously this is full day two. So a lot of meetings. I spend most my entire time at the conference here in the Expo Hall during the during the opening hours, and obviously receptions in the evening, breakfast in the morning. So nonstop for basically 4 days, Monday through Thursday. I'm leaving on a red eye back on Thursday night. I want to give a special shout out to my colleagues at Language Cert. Yep. Hello. Be visiting Language Cert's offices in Athens, Greece in a couple weeks, and looking forward to spending time with them, getting to know more about their test and how that's being used around the world to gauge students' English proficiency. So always the conversations here I find refreshing. Obviously, the colleagues I only see once or twice a year are always the highlights, but it's also about the learning and finding new things out, finding what some of our partners are doing to enhance their communication with their current students, with what what they're able to offer universities in terms of new services. So we really do see quite a wide range of programming that's going on, and really have a chance to to learn what is coming down the road, or if it's not coming down the road, is already here that we need to be aware of and preparing for in terms of our approaches to recruitment, in terms of how we manage our current students, to things as simple as how we get them here and what messaging we send to them on a regular basis. So that's all we have for you this week on the Roundup. Thanks to everybody who's been stopping by and sharing when they've run into me, sharing what their thoughts on the roundups and on the newsletter, and always just so grateful for the praise. And that really is a motivation for me to know that so many colleagues in the industry, over 2,500, you get the newsletter, those that watch the lives and listen on the podcast to the audio only version. Thank you for making SMIE consulting a part of your regular international edification each week. So until next week, I look forward to chatting with you at another conference or online. Have a great day.